Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the second or third final Indiana Jones movie.
Been looking for this all my life.
Critics say it's bad. Critics point out the obvious. Harrison Ford is old.
The old man? That's not Indiana.
I say I wanted to find out for myself sooner rather than later how was the fifth installment of the Indiana Jones franchise.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Feel free to like and subscribe and let's find out. Here's my thing. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the name was in the title, The Last Crusade.
After you, Junior.
It was supposed to be the last film back then. Even back in 1989 was probably the last time Harrison Ford was still Harrison Ford.
I continue to do things the way I think they should be done.
A few years later he does The Fugitive. He's already looking older, he's already middle-aged. You already had a sense this is the end of it, right? Then on top of that, you had the Indiana Jones Young Adventures in the 90s. There was a little cameo by Harrison Ford. He looks older then. If anything, that is how an older Indiana Jones should look.
Sometimes they are.
Then 15 years ago, they do the Crystal Skull. At that time, we weren't so conditioned to the fact that Harrison Ford is no longer his older self. So when you watch the Crystal Skull, you were really like, this guy's old, what's the point? Come the time of the Dial of Destiny, the fifth movie, for me, I've accepted he's an old guy. It's not as offensive when he's 80 years old because you know he's just way past it, as opposed to when he's 65 and you're half hoping, oh, well, maybe he can pass for 55. By this point, you know he's well past it. So again, if it's a eulogy, it could be necessary. That was my take going into it. The big one, the big question. It was conceptually intriguing at points, especially some of the reveals at the end. Whilst I was watching it, I felt it was better than the Crystal Skull. However, I haven't watched that since I saw it in the cinema 15 years ago. The good points are the de-aging CGI at the beginning of the movie, the flashback in the World War II scenes. Thus far, that's the best de-aging we've ever seen in a post-Irishman world. Some of the ideas, some of the meta text was really good, but of course that doesn't automatically equal a great movie. Beginning was good, ending was good, the middle was flat. The Mads Mikkelsen character is the ex-Nazi scientist who's on this mad mission that we don't even really fully understand what it is.
You should have stayed in New York.
170?
You should have stayed out of Poland.
Individually he was good, but I'm gonna put it to you like this. Was the movie good? It certainly had some good elements. Thus far, I'm preferring it to Crystal Skull.
Come on.
What was it? No, I'm only joking. What was bad about it was, of course, to me, the plot, the narrative was unclear and convoluted. There was too much reliance on an 80-year-old man to carry all of the action scenes. Whereas in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the Sean Connery character, who was the old man with the still younger Harrison Ford.
Don't call me Junior.
We should have had a character like this, a Shia LaBeouf type character who was killed off screen, I might add, to take the vast load of action scenes, but not have a bloody 80-year-old man acting as if he's a 25-year-old athlete. We had this funny goddaughter character.
Numbers were light, Professor Schmidt, but good news is you're here now.
His English goddaughter, who's a kind of morally compromised / morally ambiguous.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
Main character in the movie, her to be the young Indiana Jones, but she's not. She's just this selfish, kind of not very nice person who sometimes tries to act charming. Definitely not a good enough replacement for a Shia LaBeouf / younger Indiana Jones protege.
You got a problem with it?
They had the Moroccan kid who's meant to be like a replacement for the Chinese kid from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes. I'm happy now. I'm happy now.
But to me, he felt a lot more like a Dubai American high school shopping mall type Arab kid.
Meeting Harrison Ford is really exciting.
Rather than a real savvy Marrakesh street hustler.
Meeting Harrison Ford is.
But I get it, they're compensating from all the Indiana Jones films where they tried to make Arabs look stupid. Again, the Mikkelsen character playing the bad guy Nazi was really good, but he needed a stronger sidekick.
I thought we'd come to an agreement about
his weird kind of redneck post-Nazis, pre-neo-Nazi Nazi guys. You needed a better sidekick like the Schadenfreude guy out of the first Indiana Jones.
What shall we talk about?
The one who laughs at everyone all the time and goes, let me show you what I am used to.
Let me show you what I am used to. used to.
That's when you get degrees of evil and you make it more than a generic action picture. You need that even more so when it's an action picture where the main star is an 80-year-old man.
Who are you people? What do you want?
And how was Harrison Ford? He was 80, that's how he was. On a positive note, his likability was his strong point. Aside from the fact that at 80 years old, he still does a fair amount of his own stunts. Even if it's not that believable, you've got to give the guy credit for being 80 years of age and doing what he does in this movie. Again, he needed a better sidekick to bounce off him and bring out the best of him. Because in fairness, Harrison Ford, compared to what he was in the 80s, can't act anymore.
Implants. Those aren't your memories, they're somebody else's.
Okay. Bad joke.
I'm not trying to put the man down. He's still going to be one of my favourite actors. He can't act compared to how he once was. He's an older guy.
I know.
But he definitely needed a better sidekick to reinforce and bounce off of and reinforce the fact he's now this grumpy old man stuck in a hippie era that he doesn't really like. But I'm happy to see one of my favourite actors one last time. So on this one, I'm going full throttle with the spoilers. I'm not holding back. The unappreciated, esoteric Nazi evil genius wanting to go back in time to 1939 by using the Dial of Destiny to fly through a time loop and kill Hitler so he can be the Führer
Hitler made mistakes,
because he feels he can do way better,
and with this, I will correct them all.
is conceptually fascinating. But the problem is, his plan is revealed way too close to the end of the movie as it's actually happening. And throughout the duration of the film, he's just this generic summer of 69 ex-Nazi on this quest to get this archaeological thing, like in every other Indiana Jones movie.
Certainly is the cup of the King of Kings.
It's only at the end we realise the Dial of Destiny is this time portal thing, so he can get back to the time when he felt he was appreciated and the world made sense allegorically at this point in time. That's such a great theme. The meta text was fantastic, but you didn't really understand what on earth this bad guy was about until right at the end as it was happening. Whereas in Star Trek Generations, you had the crazy scientist character in that, who's obsessed with getting back to the time nexus, so he can go back to a time when existence and life made sense to him. But in Star Trek Generations, we have the Whoopi Goldberg Guinan character telling you about halfway through what the heck's going on here.
It's a doorway to another place that we call the Nexus.
I always felt the time nexus story was a great kind of metaphorical plotline. They put something, a form of that, into the Indiana Jones movie, but it's at the end. It's all happening, but it's too last minute. So it felt like with this movie, just too many chefs in the kitchen, making the whole ending rushed and convoluted. They've done a massive injustice and disservice to a potentially great plotline. I don't see this as pure woke trash. No, I think this was a pretty decent film considering how badly it's getting slaughtered, and on by fans. I'd say nah, I'd say it was not bad. It was no way near as bad as how the critics say, but it certainly wasn't anywhere close to the original 3 movies.
Chao Chi! La Tsutsanta! Oh!
You Americans, you're all the same.
I'm gonna give this film, I'm not sure to give it a 6.0 or a 6.2. 6.1. Conceptually great. I'm still happy to see my favourite childhood character. Bit of a missed opportunity, but not trash. If you've made it this far, as I always say, thank you very much. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.